my friends, how are you? And welcome to freedrumcoaching.com. I'm JS, and this is our third week meeting. Today we have a two-part lesson. The second part of the lesson is going to be going over the Molar motion and applying it to our foot to get really good, solid doubles. Very cool, right? But before we do that, I wanted to touch base on footwear. As you can see right now, I've got sneakers hanging from my cymbals, sneakers on my toms, sneakers on my hat stacks, sneakers on my snare with some socks on them, and even sneakers on my floor tom. And I'm sitting here barefoot. People ask me all the time, Jay, what should I wear on my feet and what shouldn't I wear on my feet? Let's start with the barefoot aspect of playing. I hear people all the time going, you should never play barefoot. You'll bruise your bones. You'll hurt your foot. You shouldn't play barefoot because you sweat and you're going to get all that sweat on your foot and it's really gross and it's terrible and you're going to hurt your foot. Myth, myth, myth. Personal quirks and little pet peeves. That's all those are. Those are people's personal little issues that they're expressing on you as if it's a scientific discovery. There is nothing wrong with playing barefoot. One, they talk about the sweat aspect, right? When you're wearing a shoe, your foot is sweating. Inside that shoe, your sock and your shoe are absorbing that moisture. Okay, now you're talking about a dark, warm, moist environment. Bacteria heaven. So if you have athlete's foot, cracks on your foot, a scrape on your foot, you are absorbing more bacteria in your foot, in your shoe, in your sock than you ever would. Okay? Bone bruising. If you're hurting your bones, your ball of your foot, your heel, I can't even imagine what somebody can hurt like this, but if you're hurting your foot like that, then you are not playing your bass drum properly. You are stomping on it, your foot's coming off the pedal, you're stomping your leg, you're wearing out your hip, and that's why you're getting bone bruising in your foot, because you're not even actually playing the bass drum properly. So playing barefoot is actually excellent. Think of when you play with sticks in your hands. You can feel the wood, you can feel the balance, you can feel how this finger and this portion of your hand will manipulate the stick just a little to get this technique. Well, your foot being bare will do the same thing on the footboard. It will allow you to spread your toes a little, get the ball of your foot on this, use the side of your foot. So when you are playing with a shoe on or something, you'll at least know these positions and where to place the feeling. And if you do play barefoot, then that's fine because you're going to find out that barefoot playing enables you to incorporate your toes, the ball of your foot, all these little things that you wouldn't think of if you're just sitting there with your shoe on, stomping away, okay? Now, when not to be barefoot, when you're in a gym locker and you're in the shower and there's all these people walking around and there's water on the floor and all these other feet are walking around, that's when you don't want to be barefoot. You don't want to be barefoot when you lend your bass pedal to some dude and he plays barefoot and he comes back with all sweat stains and blood stains on it. That would not be a case to play barefoot. But if it's your pedal in your house, on your studio, with your foot on it, by all means, rock it out bare. Cool? Now, I also love to play with socks. I love to play with socks. Because one, you are giving now a layer between your foot and the pedal to absorb some of that moisture, so maybe your foot isn't slipping on the pedal. Again, no, I've never really played to a point where my foot is like pouring out so much sweat that it's sliding off the pedal. So, if that's the case, you might want to talk to your doctor about, overactive sweat glands or something. But anyway, back to the sock. I love playing with socks. I love my socks. I always like funky socks. Playing with socks to me is very cool. I would never play with gloves on my hands because I just think that takes too much of the feeling away. But playing with socks on your feet is a very comfortable thing to do. And again, try it. What's really cool about it is it enables you to slide your foot along the footboard a little better, to go from the top for power or to the middle where the sweet spot is to get some rebound action off your pedal. So giving yourself the ability to have this little bit of a slip and slide action in your foot is key. Because when you talk about a sneaker like these are Pro Keds, similar to a Converse All-Star. They both came out around the same time. They're both the same type of style. They both use the same rubber on the bottom. But when you talk about a shoe like this, or you talk about like a Nike, this is a Nike and a Pro Ked. Same thing these are. This is the other pairs for this. So let's get them out, all right? So they're off my floor, Tom. Let's go. So when you talk about a Nike or you talk about a Pro Ked bottom, these are made to give you traction. Think about that word. These bottoms, you've heard it in the basketball court. People's feet breaking and stopping them on the floor, running, getting that good grip on the floor so you can run fast and have nice traction and tread and grip to the floor. Grip to the floor. So when you're playing your bass pedal with a rubber bottom foot like this, to be able to slide around and be light-footed, you're going to have to rely more on hip motion, lifting your foot up and holding your leg up with your hip to be able to apply these motions and pivots with your knee now, because if you relax play and try and do it, you're not going to be able to slide across your pedal. Even with smooth footboards, this rubber is non-slip. It's made so it doesn't slip on surfaces just like your bass pedal footboard. So again, there's nothing wrong with playing with sneakers on. I play with sneakers on all the time. I come into my studio, I have my Pro Keds on, I have my Nikes on, I sit down, I play, and it's the same thing like it always is. It's the same thing. Although there are techniques that are simpler, easier to do, less stressful on the body when you choose a different type of footwear. So what do we got so far? Playing with bare feet is absolutely excellent and fine and no problem. Just be clean, be neat, and be smart about it. Playing with socks is absolutely fantastic. You're going to get the benefit of being barefoot and feeling the pedal, feeling how you can maneuver and move around on the footboard, but you've got that little protection of sock to absorb some of that little moisture. But don't forget, when you're done, take your socks off, put them in the laundry basket, and go wash them and put on some fresh socks, okay? And then the sneakers, the rubber. You know, boats. Think of the deck on a boat, the bottom of a shoe. It's made for that, deck shoes, so you don't slide. These are made for basketball courts and athletes, running for traction and non-slip. So on your footboard, you're going to get the same results. They're going to be very grippy, is the word we'll use. Grippy, okay? So what can we do to give ourselves foot protection and wear a sneaker and still slide around a little bit? Well, if you all know who Jojo Mayer is, something Jojo Mayer does, and I picked up from him, was Jojo will take a pair of his Converse. He uses Converse All-Star. I use Pro Keds. I grew up playing with, using Pro Keds, wearing Pro Keds as a kid. Pro Keds a couple of years ago did the throwback series, the same shoes that were out when I was a kid, and I jumped online and I ordered like 4 or 5 pairs of them. So I have those. But what I did was took them to a shoemaker, a local shoemaker, a cobbler, and on the bottom they put leather. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. See it right there? And this leather is it's not hard. I mean, the shoe can bend a little bit, but this is basically like the bottom of wedding shoes. Now, you know what happens. You've worn wedding shoes and you've gone to a wedding and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to slip all over the floor and bust my butt. There you go. You don't want to go walking around with these because you're going to bust your butt. Now, something that was a little problem for me with these is when I would put them on, being so stiff and rigid on the bottom, they kind of felt a little tight. They felt a little restricting to me. So I experimented with some things on my own. We'll get to those in a second. But what I did recently find out, and I don't want to reveal anything or give anything away, but Jojo did recently put out a new DVD on foot techniques that is amazing. I did a review on it here on YouTube. Check out the review. But what he mentions in his DVD is what he does do is he replaces the shoelaces with elastic. So that's not really a shoelace. That's just a piece of elastic strap. So you can actually just take the foot, your foot, and slip the shoe on and not have to deal with it being all tight, and it goes right on your foot nice, And actually, because it frees up that space on the top of your foot now, it's not tight and restricting like the lace, even though you can loosen the laces, it still doesn't feel the same. I get more mobility now with this. I can move my foot better when it's on the footboard. I can flex my foot better and get better response. So I was so glad that he mentioned that little thing about the laces, because it made a world of a difference. Now, a shoemaker might not want to do this to your sneakers, so you might have to sign a waiver. But, you know, I told the guy, look, man, just do it. If you ruin my sneakers, don't worry about it. I knew he wasn't going to ruin them. You're putting glue on the bottom of a shoe, you're putting a leather bottom on it, and then you're just buffing the bottom so it blends and meets. That's how they do it. It's very simple. This cost me about 40 bucks to have done on my shoe. All right, not too bad, but kind of, you know, I mean, it's going to last. I've had these canvas sneakers now for I think a year or two. I said about last year, but I think it was actually 2 years now. I've had these for about 2 years, and you can see the bottoms. This is my left shoe. This is my right shoe. Obviously, the right shoe has more wear and tear. You can see the tip is run down. Here, the tip on the hi-hat stand, because my foot rarely comes off the hi-hat stand. But 40 bucks, and they're still going strong. No problem, right? What I've recently found online is I can purchase this leather, not cut out in the shape of a foot, because when you do that, you're paying a little extra money. It's going to be about 20 bucks, 25 bucks each. So the shoemaker's probably making about 20 bucks a shoe, 20 bucks on cost on the leather. If it's a pre-cut, then you would just have to Dremel or something around the bottom to make it fit. But what I found on eBay is a leather. Now, I'm a vegetarian, so this is the one thing that kind of bothers me, but I'm working on that as well. I have some materials here that I'm going to experiment with on another pair of shoes. But this is basically the same thing. Looks great, right? Perfect on the bottom, right? Looks really sweet, right? It's got more flex to it. This is about 1/8 of an inch thick. And it's called veg leather, V-E-G. It does not mean that it's fake vegetarian leather. It's just the process of tanning, I believe. I don't really know much about it, and I hated buying it. But I picked this up on eBay for about 10 bucks, this piece of leather. Came home, it came here, I put my shoes on it, I took a pencil, I carefully outlined my shoes, took my shoes off, the leather, right? Looked at the pencil line, made it nice. Put it on a wooden cutting board. I took a utility knife. I'm very good with a knife, right? And I just sat there and lightly went over the outline first on each one, and then I went back and one good dig, and I'd get nice, full, even, you know, moves. I was very careful, moved nice and slow. So I cut the 2 feet out. Simple. Took shoe glue, whatever it's called, the red tube. You can get it at CVS, Walgreens, Home Depot, all those stores. I completely covered the bottom of the sneaker. Not the leather, the sneaker itself. Completely covered it. Took the suede part down, so you have the hard surface outside. So I took the suede part down, put it on, slid it, you know, wiggled it a little, made sure it was fitted in, pushed it, pressed it. Took the shoe, I put it down on the floor. I took a cutting board, which I couldn't get it back here because this was harder, so it went from here. I put a cutting board, a wood cutting board on top of it so it flattened it. I took a 25-pound dumbbell and put it on top of that. I left that there for about 24 to 30 hours. 10 bucks on my autumn. These are the fall series, Pro-Keds. Nice little autumny orange color. So there you go. This cost me 10 bucks. I play with these, they feel great. They're pretty new. I did these about a week ago. And again, I did the same thing. I did the elastic in here as a lace, so I can just slide them right on and slide them right off. Nice and easy, no problems. I feel like Mr. Rogers putting my shoe on right now with this little sweater on. But there you go, right on my foot, and look, and it comes right off the foot. Nice and easy, right? But I am a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan, but I'm a vegetarian, but I rarely will have a product that has milk or egg in it. But every so often, if I have a cookie in my mouth, I'll go, there's butter in there, okay. Or I'll eat something and I'll go, yeah, there's probably milk in this or egg, and I deal with it. So anyway, get this, 10 to 12 bucks, right? Chinese slippers, kung fu shoes, but the real deal, not the rubber bottom, not the rubber bottom. Rubber on metal is what? It makes traction. This is the cotton, white cloth cotton bottom Kung Fu shoes. Look, absolutely the most flexible thing you will ever find in your life as far as footwear. Maybe not, I shouldn't say that. And then this, the cotton moves right along the metal, slips right on your foot with a sock on. No problems, right? It's almost like being barefoot because it's so thin, especially the top, so your foot's going to stay cool, it's going to stay dry, it's going to slide, and it feels great. Kung Fu shoes. Go on eBay and type in Chinese slippers. Make sure they have the cotton sole. Now, I am an 11.5 standard shoe size. All my shoes are an 11.5. These come tight, so you have to order a half size bigger. If you're going to be barefoot, if you wear thick socks, like those big white thick cotton socks, you need to almost go a full size up. These are supposed to hug your foot nice and snugly, but not strangling you, okay? So listen, I've got my Chinese slippers on. We've talked about barefoot, we've talked about socks, we've talked about rubber bottoms, we've talked about leather bottoms, and we've talked about cotton bottoms. And it's mine, it's okay. And we've talked about these cotton bottoms. What you want to wear on your foot is going to be your choice ultimately. But in my opinion, it is really worth the time to start investigating these things that will help your foot slide a little bit. And if you don't want to go out and you don't want to have leather put on your shoes, or you don't want to try and do the leather thing, put a sock on. Even if you don't want to go out and spend the $12 on a Chinese slipper, put a sock on and then try the exercise we're about to do. I want to talk about doubles. We're going to get our doubles going on our foot really nice. We're going to be applying the molar motion in a large fashion to get the development and the muscle memory and to see the positioning and movement. But what I really want you to take away today is the mini molar action I'm going to show you with your foot technique. So let's get into that right now. So, applying the Molar technique to our feet, the molar. Downstroke, upstroke. But the upstroke is a free stroke, right? Because we're letting the stick fall and bounce and accepting it and all that stuff. If you want to know about the Molar technique, I have a video on YouTube, a 3-part series about the Molar technique. But I want to talk today about the foot. Now, the Molar technique, the molar motion to the foot, this looks like the heel-toe technique, but it is not. The heel-toe technique is when you come down and then you stomp. Come down and you stomp, right? This is just one motion. It looks exactly the same, but the contact is all in the ball of your foot, really. So I'm not doing that. Not 2 strokes. I'm going 1. That's my stroke. And when I reset my foot, you see that tap? Well, 1. When I pick my heel up, see that tap? 1. See that tap? 1. See that tap? Nice and easy. So let's talk about that one more time, because then I want to minimize this motion to where our foot basically isn't even moving and you're getting your double. All right, so the molar motion applied to the foot. You will do a full stroke. Your heel is up, you drop down, the beater is off the head. So you have to practice that stroke first, just like this. Get used to that. Just doing that full heel stroke. You know, there's flat foot and then there are heel up techniques. That is a heel up stroke. Picking your foot up and coming down, and the beater is still off the head, so your drum is ringing nicely, right? And now when I pick my foot up to do the same thing again, I'm accepting, I'm letting, I'm not doing this and arching my foot at the ball of my foot so I don't get that stroke. I'm just keeping my foot straight, picking it back up to do my downstroke. Picking it back up, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. Effortless. Soft calves, soft shin. So don't, after you get that down, when you pick up, don't bend your foot at that hinge. Let it make that hit. Okay? Don't worry right now about obtaining that single stroke wobble. Don't worry about that right now, please. Just work these two motions, this motion, one motion for now. Just nice and slow, no metronome on, just getting used to the motion of dropping your foot down and getting that stroke with the beater off of your head. Picking it up, doing that stroke first. When you get really comfortable with that, then let that upstroke start happening. Okay? I know it sounds terrible because it's just being picked up through my the condenser mics and my lapel mic. Don't worry about it. Just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, of course, this big motion, my heel coming all the way up, is an over-exaggeration of the motion, so you really get used to the movement. So you really develop the flexibility and strength in your muscle, and you really get a good understanding of that movement, so you get the muscle memory really embedded in your head very well. Okay? So after you feel comfortable with this, I want you to try this. So we've been talking about the upstroke, the downstroke, the downstroke, the upstroke. Now, my foot in that full position on the footboard. If I slide my foot down, you know, the cotton bottom, look at that, allows me to slide all over the place. If I slide down a little bit in my sweet spot and I apply that same kind of a concept, now again, for demonstration purposes only, I am just using this front little cute portion of my foot. I don't expect you to sit at home and go. I don't want you to sit at home and go. So I'm only showing you where I'm making the contact with my foot. So here, coming back a little. Now again, we talked about the difference between that molar and the heel toe. Think the slide technique, you come back, you get that stroke. When you lift your foot up, the beater comes off, you plant it down, you get your second stroke. You lift it up, you come down. So there's your slide technique, right? This is like taking the slide technique and really making it really small and applying that molar mentality, downstroke, upstroke. Doubles. It's all about getting good, solid doubles. Now, this is what this exercise is for. It's so you don't have to sit there just on this flat foot all the time doing your doubles, or you're not stomping your whole foot and using your hip motion. This is to get that nice, powerful, or nice, low double with the most effortless maneuver ever. So anyway, everyone, I hope you got something out of this. Let me know. I've been loving the comments. I've been loving the emails and corresponding with you. I'm loving the feedback that you're giving me and the excitement you have for the new site, freedrumcoaching.com. Don't forget, I do have another site where I broadcast 3 live lessons every week. That's mydrumlife.com. You can always see me on Saturdays at drumeo.com as well. Find me on facebook.com at /drummyjs and youtube.com/drummerjs, Instagram drummerjs, and Twitter at drummerjs. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next week. I'm not sure what next week's lesson is going to be. It'll be a surprise. Everyone, thank you so much. This is freedrumcoaching.com. I'm JS, and have a great day. Take care.